October 30th, 1942. Noumea Harbor, New Caledonia, 10:30 hours. Lieutenant Commander Hershel Albert Smith stood on cracked flight deck steel watching 75 construction workers weld plates over bomb craters. His hands gripped the safety railing, white knuckles, 4 days since Santa Cruz, 2 direct hits. 75 wounded, 44 dead. Forward elevator jammed solid. Starboard hull bulging outward like a pregnant whale. Fuel still leaking from ruptured tanks. Every Navy regulation said she needed months in a proper shipyard. The problem was simple mathematics. Lexington gone at Coral Sea. Yorktown destroyed at Midway. Wasp torpedoed 2 months prior. Hornet sunk 4 days ago at Santa Cruz. Saratoga and Pearl Harbor under repair. Enterprise CV-6 was the only operational American carrier in the entire Pacific Ocean. 25,000 tons. 824 feet of damaged steel. The only thing standing between Japanese Navy and total control of Solomon Islands. Japanese intelligence knew the numbers. They had declared Enterprise sunk 3 separate times in 10 months. August at Eastern Solomons, October at Santa Cruz. Each time American propaganda denied the claims. Each time Enterprise appeared in battle again, broken, fighting. The Japanese gave her a new name. Gray Ghost, the ship that refused to die. Smith had 36 hours to make her combat ready. Construction workers instead of shipyard specialists. Jury-rigged repairs instead of proper refits. He looked at the bomb damage. He looked at his damage control teams. He knew what was coming. What happened next would prove that one officer's expertise in keeping broken ships operational mattered more than all the pristine battleships in both fleets combined. This is the story of how naval warfare changed because one man understood something admirals did not. Ships do not win wars by being undamaged. They win by refusing to stop fighting. Watch what happens when expertise meets desperation and 75 construction workers become the most important combat asset in the Pacific theater. Smith was Naval Academy class of 1922. Michigan native, trained as line officer qualified to command ships. But his specialty was damage control. He understood how warships were constructed, where frames bore stress, where bulkheads could fail, how damage propagated through watertight compartments, how to stop it. He had served aboard Enterprise since April 1942, 6 months. He knew every frame, every bulkhead, every watertight door, every fire main, every pump, every electrical junction, every ventilation trunk. He had walked every compartment, crawled through void spaces, traced every system from origin to terminus. When damage occurred, he did not need blueprints. He visualized exactly what broke, what was threatened, what needed immediate action. His damage control teams trained to levels few ships matched. Every sailor knew his role. Every team knew their equipment. Fire drills, flooding drills, bomb damage scenarios. They drilled in daylight, in darkness, in rough seas, in calm water. They drilled until muscle memory replaced conscious thought, until chaos became routine procedure. The strategic situation in Pacific Theater, November 1942, was dire. Japanese Navy controlled approaches to Solomon Islands. Their base at Rabaul provided air cover for operations throughout region. American foothold at Guadalcanal depended entirely on Henderson Field airstrip. Without that airstrip, Marine forces on island would be cut off from supply and air support. Without Enterprise to protect supply convoys, Henderson Field could not be supplied. Without Henderson Field operational, Guadalcanal fell. Without Guadalcanal, Japanese-controlled South Pacific approaches to Australia and New Zealand. The mathematics were brutal. Japanese combined fleet had 4 fleet carriers operational: Shokaku, Zuikaku, Junyo, Hio. 2 light carriers, 6 battleships including Yamato and Musashi, the largest warships ever built, 24 heavy cruisers. Over 30 destroyers. The American Pacific Fleet had Enterprise, 1 damaged carrier with compromised watertight integrity and a jammed elevator. Admiral William Halsey, Commander South Pacific Forces, understood the odds. He had taken command October 18, 1942. 2 weeks into the job, he had lost Hornet. His only remaining carrier was Enterprise. She had been hit at Eastern Solomons in August 1942. Hit again at Santa Cruz in October 1942. His intelligence reports said the Japanese planned a major offensive to retake Guadalcanal. Battleship bombardment of Henderson Field followed by troop landings. Halsey needed Enterprise operational. Not next month. Not next week. Now. Captain Osborne Bennett Hardison had commanded Enterprise for exactly 10 days. He was 49 years old. Naval Academy class of 1916. North Carolina native. Career surface warfare officer. He inherited a damaged ship facing impossible odds. His orders from Halsey were explicit. Get Enterprise combat ready. Japanese battleships were en route to Guadalcanal. Enterprise had to sortie immediately. Hardison looked at damage reports. Forward elevator jammed. Hull integrity compromised. Fuel leaks ongoing. Watertight compartments flooded. He called Smith to his cabin. Asked one question. Can she fight? Smith told him the truth. Enterprise could launch aircraft. Her engines functioned. Steering worked. Catapults operational. But she was vulnerable. Another bomb hit near the damaged elevator could collapse the entire mechanism into the hangar deck. A torpedo hit where a near miss had buckled the hull would flood compartments faster than pumps could handle. Enterprise could sink in minutes. But she could fight. Hardison gave the order. Enterprise would sail at 6:0, November 11th, 1942, with construction workers still aboard. Welders still working. Air hammers still pounding. Repair crews racing to fix what battle had broken. The intelligence picture was fragmentary but clear. Japanese radio intercepts indicated a large force moving south from Rabaul. Reconnaissance flights reported battleships, cruisers, destroyers, troop transports under escort. Target was Guadalcanal. Objective: destroy Henderson Field and marine positions. American forces at Guadalcanal numbered approximately 19,000 Marines. They held defensive positions around Henderson Field and Lunga Point. Supplies came by convoy every few days. Japanese submarines and aircraft attacked every convoy. Without air cover from Enterprise, convoys could not get through. Without supplies, Marines on Guadalcanal would run out of ammunition, food, and medical supplies within weeks. Henderson Field had approximately 90 aircraft operational: FARF Wildcats, SBD Dauntless dive bombers, TBF Avenger torpedo bombers. They flew daily missions. They also provided combat air patrol. But Henderson Field runways were coral and steel matting laid over dirt. Heavy rains turned them to mud. Bombardment cratered them daily. Enterprise Air Group could launch in weather Henderson Field could not. They extended the defensive perimeter of Guadalcanal by hundreds of miles. Smith's challenge was keeping Enterprise functional long enough to matter. Santa Cruz damage was extensive. The first bomb had penetrated through the flight deck, to the gallery deck, to the second deck. The explosion killed 16 men instantly, wounded 23 more, started fires, knocked out electrical power to the forward section, yammed the forward elevator in the down position. The second bomb hit 5 minutes later. It penetrated the flight deck aft of the island. Explosion erupted through the hangar deck. 28 men killed, 52 wounded. Massive fires threatened aviation fuel storage and magazines. Near-miss bombs buckled starboard hull plates, flooding compartments. The ship listed. Smith's teams fought that damage at Santa Cruz. Fires contained. Bulkheads shored. Compartment flooding stopped. Electrical systems jury-rigged. Enterprise survived because of damage control, not luck. That was 4 days earlier. Now he had 75 civilian construction battalion specialists, CBS, welders, carpenters, mechanics, electricians, skilled tradesmen, not combat sailors. But they could build, and that was enough. Smith organized them. Welders patching flight deck craters. Carpenters crafting wooden plugs for holes. Mechanics hauling the elevator with cables and cranes. Electricians rewiring blast-damaged systems. Each CBS team paired with Navy Damage Control petty officers. They worked 24 hours straight, burning through hundreds of welding rods. Their steel patches were combat triage, not shipyard perfect, but they would hold unless another bomb hit the same spot. The elevator was the worst damage. Hydraulic system destroyed. Platform jammed halfway. CBS mechanics rigged a crane and cable lift system. Hauled it up manually. Lock it in place. Weld braces under it. Enterprise would now have 2 elevators instead of 3. Slower aircraft handling, but still functional. Hull integrity? Dangerous. Buckled plates, open seams. Internal braces welded. Pumps ready. She would not survive a direct torpedo hit. But maybe a near miss wouldn't kill her now. Smith worked alongside them, welding, carrying material, crawling through compartments. His presence told CBS, "Your work decides if 3,300 men leave." On November 10, 1942, intelligence confirmed. Japanese battleships en route to bombard Henderson Field by November 13. Hardison called Smith again. "Hardison, can she fight?" "Smith, she can fight." Enterprise departed Noumea at 6:00 November 11, 1942. CBS still on deck, welding arcs bright over the ocean. A carrier sailing into battle was still under repair, unprecedented in naval history. By November 12, 1942, 4 hours, Enterprise reached position north of Guadalcanal. Darkness, pilots preparing, Smith watching. Damage control at full readiness, all watertight doors shut, fire mains pressurized, pumps manned. At 5:15 hours, aircraft launched. 4th Wildcats forward. SBD Dauntless amidships. TBF Avengers aft. 29 aircraft in first wave. They hit 11 Japanese transports at Tasafaronga, 6 destroyed, 2 damaged, thousands of troops lost before landing. Enterprise had announced she was back, but the Japanese weren't done. 8:30 hours. Radar picked up 27 incoming aircraft. American Wildcats intercepted, shot down 11. 18 bombers and torpedo aircraft broke through. Enterprise turned hard to port. Bomb missed by 50 feet. Another aft. A third hit a nearby destroyer instead. Torpedoes streaked by. No hits. 8-minute attack. Enterprise, untouched. CBS patches held. More strikes launched. More Japanese troops killed. Henderson Field, alive. The Japanese had one goal: sink the Grey Ghost. But she refused to die. American surface forces prepared for night battle. Undergunned, outnumbered. They would buy time for Enterprise airstrikes at dawn. And then came November 13th, 1942. 1:25 hours. American destroyers charged Japanese battleships Hiei and Kirishima at point-blank range. Ships died. Hundreds of men died, but the bombardment was stopped. At dawn, Enterprise launched. Dive bombers shattered Hiei. By sunset, Hiei was scuttled. First Japanese battleship lost in the war. Enterprise had kept the fight alive. Smith's teams had been at battle stations for 36 hours. No real rest. Enterprise kept launching strikes. CBS kept welding between aircraft launches. Sparks lit the night while pilots fought above Guadalcanal. November 14th, 1942. Intelligence. Another Japanese force inbound. Cruisers, destroyers, 11 transports. Their mission unchanged. Land troops. Crush Henderson Field. Retake Guadalcanal. Enterprise launched strike after strike. Transports burning, sinking, beaching themselves in panic to unload faster. Out of 11, only 4 would return to Rabaul. The Japanese hoped to land 10,000 troops. Barely 2,000 made it ashore, most without equipment. That night, battleship Kirishima attempted to bombard Henderson Field. This time, the U.S. had battleships, USS South Dakota and USS Washington. At midnight, guns roared. Washington's 16-inch guns found Kirishima, armor shattered, fires raging. By dawn, Kirishima rolled and sank. 2 Japanese battleships lost in 3 days. November 15th, 1942. 16:00 hours. Enterprise recovered her final aircraft. She had been fighting non-stop for 4 days since leaving Noumea. She had not been hit once during Guadalcanal actions, not because she was safe, but because she was fighting while still broken, always moving, always launching. Her presence forced Japan to commit air power against her instead of ground forces. She protected Marines. She kept Henderson Field alive. She changed the campaign. At November 16, 1942, Enterprise limped back to Noumea. She returned in better condition than when she left, repaired in battle by CBS under fire. This had never happened in naval warfare before. Enterprise paid without bombs striking her hull. One damage control petty officer collapsed from exhaustion shortly after returning, age 32, heart failure, died in sick bay. 3 CBS workers died during repairs. Welder fell 40 feet, died on deck, carpenter crushed by collapsing, temporary shoring mechanic burned by electrical short, died 3 days later. No medals, no citations, just 3 civilian names on lists, forgotten by all but families. They died because Enterprise had to fight before she was ready. The math of war is cruel. 3 CBS workers, 1 petty officer dead versus 12,000 American lives saved. Lives saved. Marines on Guadalcanal, who never faced 10,000 reinforcement sailors on convoys that made it through pilots who could land at an unbombarded Henderson Field. Most of those lives never learned the names of the men who saved them. Welders, carpenters, mechanics, and a damage control officer who refused surrender by shipyard logic. Smith never boasted. Hardison never glamorized it. CBS went home to build roads and houses, not memorials. But history turned on their steel plates, welded in desperation under incoming Japanese bombers. Enterprise survived Guadalcanal. She would survive 19 more battles. Eastern Solomons, Santa Cruz, Rennell Island, Gilbert Islands, Kwajalein Truk, Palau Hollandia, Marianas, Philippine Sea, Leyte Gulf, Luzon, Taiwan, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and more. 20 combat engagements total, from Pearl Harbor to the final days of the Pacific War. She earned 20 battle stars, more than any ship in U.S. Navy history. Presidential Unit, Citation Navy Unit Commendation. Her air groups shot down 911 enemy aircraft, sank 71 ships, damaged or destroyed 192 more, steamed 275,000 combat miles. November 23, 1945, Southampton, England. The Royal Navy presented Enterprise with the Admiralty Pennant, first time awarded to a foreign warship in 400 years. Navy Secretary James Forrestal wrote, "Enterprise is the one vessel that most nearly symbolizes the history of the United States Navy in World War II. Yet, when war ended, America forgot." Enterprise was decommissioned February 17, 1947. Plans to preserve her as a museum failed. Funding never came. She sat idle, waiting for a miracle that never arrived. July 1, 1958, sold for scrap. By March 1960, the Gray Ghost was gone, cut apart in New Jersey. Most decorated U.S. warship, destroyed by peacetime indifference. Her bell went to Annapolis, an anchor to Washington Navy Yard, a stern plate to New Jersey. The rest melted into silence. Smith retired as a captain. No major decorations. Died 1968, Belraid, in Michigan. Enterprise veterans came. They remembered. Hardison rose to vice admiral. died 1959, buried in Arlington, Ontario. CBS workers returned home. They built docks, roads, homes, and carried a story history barely recorded. 3 lion graves in California, Oregon, Louisiana. Their families never knew the magnitude of what they did. Wade McCluskey, who found the Japanese fleet at Midway and led strikes at Guadalcanal, retired a rear admiral, died 1976. Few remember his name, but every Navy aviator owes him a debt. 30,000 men served aboard Enterprise. Only 104 earned all 20 battle stars. Their names rest in Navy records, not in national memory. Enterprise proved the most powerful naval weapon is not steel, it is refusal to quit. Her legacy lives in every carrier. Damage control escort doctrine, fight through damage, not withdraw, train every sailor to save the ship. When USS Cole was bombed in 2000, her crew saved her using techniques born on Enterprise decks in 1942. In the same year Enterprise was scrapped, the Navy laid the keel for a new ship. USS Enterprise, CV-65, the first nuclear carrier, served 51 years. Now another rises, USS Enterprise, CV-80, to carry the name forward into the 2030s. The ship is gone. The idea is not. Steel dies, tradition doesn't. Modern naval officers study Guadalcanal and the Gray Ghost. They study Smith, the officer who believed a damaged ship could still win a war. They study Hardison, the captain who refused to withdraw. They study the CBS welders, civilians who turned a dying carrier into the most dangerous warship afloat. They study the lesson Japan learned too late. You don't win by avoiding damage. You win by refusing to stop fighting. American carriers today train the same doctrine. Fight, hurt, repair underway, save the ship. Keep launching aircraft. Damage control is everyone's job. Every sailor learns firefighting, flooding control, emergency power. Every compartment has gear staged and ready. Every watch team drills endlessly, just like Smith's did. Japanese naval planners assumed U.S. carriers needed months in dock after damage. That assumption collapsed at Guadalcanal, when a bomb-shattered carrier returned to battle in 4 days and destroyed their invasion. They never understood how Enterprise stayed alive. Even after the war, Japanese officers called her the ship that should not have existed. In the 1990s, a historian pieced together Enterprise repair and combat logs, found CBS casualty records, found the 4 men who died keeping her alive, found damage control reports signed by Smith, found the timeline that changed the Pacific. He searched for veterans, most gone, some still living. They remembered the smell of burning metal, the tremor of shock waves through steel, the hiss of steam leaks, the glow of welders on a warship steaming into battle. They remembered a ship that refused to die. Enterprise proves the truth of naval warfare. Ships win wars not by staying untouched, but by enduring damage, adapting, and fighting on. She wasn't the newest or biggest. She was the one that wouldn't quit. The Gray Ghost didn't survive the peace. Accountant succeeded where torpedoes failed, but her doctrine lives in steel sailing now and steel still being built. Future officers will walk the decks of CV-80 Enterprise. They will learn her name. They will study Guadalcanal. They will learn about a lieutenant commander named Smith and 75 welders who changed the world with torches and steel plates. They will learn that ships aren't machines. Ships are people, and when people refuse to surrender, the ship becomes unstoppable. Because Enterprise was never just metal. She was belief. Belief that fighting spirit outlasts damage. Belief that refusal is stronger than fear. Belief that you hold the line or nobody does. That belief won a war. That belief built modern naval doctrine. That belief sails again soon, under the name Enterprise. The Gray Ghost, the ship that refused to die.